Okay, so um, I was in Argentina when the elections took place last October 2023, and I watched closely um, the campaign promises that Javier Milei made, and that his opponent, Massa, was his main opponent, made, and also the debates on television um, that uh, took place. I think at the time, um, uh, Pato, I call her Pato, Patricia, uh, was also making her argument, and also there was this Bregman. There was also a Cordoba um, governor who ran for president, Schiaretti, and who claimed all kinds of accomplishments in Cordoba when really people are not doing that good in Cordoba. And Bregman was the socialist who actually was the most honest of all of them because she didn't really have a bad record to cover up like they did. So there were five candidates, and in the first round, um, the one that came in first was Millet, I believe, with like maybe 30% or 26% of the votes, something like that. He might have come in second, and then also Massa came in, but Patricia Bullrich was didn't make it in. And then Millet allied himself with Patricia's, which was really Macri's party, and they won the election after I had left the country. And so basically, that 56% was about 30% Millet and 26% them, the Patricia Bullrich thing. And then he immediately installed as the finance minister. Well, first he made Patricia Bullrich the one that is in charge of security, which she had had that role previously in Macri's government, and she'd gotten a lot of bad press because of how they killed Jose Maldonado, because of her Chocobar policy where the police could shoot people in the back, just a lot of human rights violations. And Milei also installed Toto Caputo, the name should say it all, as the finance minister, and he was actually ousted out of the being in charge of the bank during Macri's government by suggestion of the IMF because he was, such a scammer. And so when I saw these two people put in power immediately after the election by Millet, all of his rhetoric about, you know, getting rid of the casta. So he was able to capitalize on people's negativity and hate and their disdain for the ruling class, the political ruling class. And he did this by lying and promising people that he would, in fact, take care of children. He was going to make sure that children were taken care of because that's so important, and that destitute people would be taken care of because they needed, you know, to be cared for. And In fact, what's happening in Argentina is that he's dismantling the economy. There's like 90% less construction work going on. The car factories are shutting down or suggesting that their workers take paid sick leave. It's just it's in shambles, the economy, and people are really suffering because everything's way more expensive. Except the salaries are worth half as much because of the devaluation of the peso versus the dollar, which he did as soon as he got into office. And all the while, he's flying around the world giving his anti communist, pro Israel, and imperialist rhetoric. And people are loving him. All the financiers are very happy with him because he's selling out the country cheap. And so it's a real big shambles. But I wanted to give you a little bit of history on who he is. Javier Milei. Um, he was not very happy as a child. He often would get beaten up by his dad, whom he hated and didn't communicate with for many years, but who, however, maintained him, gave him the apartment that he lived in Buenos Aires. His dad bought it, and the car that he drove around in. His dad bought that for him too. And Javier Milei worked for the central bank at one point, but he got fired because of his mental instability. It's one of the things that came out during the debate. Massa challenged him about would he take like a personality test, and he wouldn't because he's a nut, and he wouldn't pass the test. Um, so uh, he has a lot of disdain for others. He's a sociopath, a psychopath. So he doesn't really understand the suffering of people, and he has 4 or 5 mastiff dogs, and he thinks that he met one of them, which he named Conan, in a Colosseum in Rome 2,000 years ago. I mean, this guy's a real nutcase, and and he's going to create such terrible conditions that there's going to be a social unrest, the likes of which have never been seen in Argentina. Argentina has been through quite a bit, and things are going to blow up. So Javier Milei is a favorite of the globalists, and he was financed by them. Uricanian, I think is the name of the guy that called Animales Sueltos and asked them to give him a voice in the media. Like he had a meteoric rise within 2 years. He was able to be a diputado nacional and create a new party and then become president because of the inflation that was brought in by the loan from the IMF that couldn't be repaid, and also by the pandemic that was created by the Wuhan uh, Institute, and also by the uh, drought. Argentina's been in a long drought, and they haven't been able to get enough dollars for their soy production like in years past. So these are conditions kind of in which Hitler rose. There was a tremendous um, um, inflation. He also lied to the people. He made all kinds of promises, but what he really brought was, you know, disaster, and that's what Milei is doing. And because of the uh, enmity between China and the U.S., East and West, he is now the favorite of the West, and they're supporting him at any cost. And the cost is the welfare of the people in Argentina.